Welcome to Activate Your Life, Awaken Your Soul's Expression. This is the podcast that goes deep into the realms of astrology, human design, homesteading, permaculture, self-sufficiency, inner work, and inner healing, everything that's supporting your own inner awakening. I am your host, Erin, and it is an honor to be your guide on this amazing journey of self-discovery and transformation. Hello and welcome to the second episode of the relaunched Activate Your Life podcast, Awakening Your Soul's Expression. And today I want to talk about accepting the call. Now, what I mean when I say that, accepting the call, is something that I've been really tuning into and really feeling into from the depths of my being and experiencing it. A few people that I've also talked to over just these couple days have also talked about this as well too. So for me, that is confirmation that something's going on. And if you resonate with this, awesome. And if you don't, that's awesome too. But I wonder if this call that I'm talking about here in this podcast is going to come into your life soon if you haven't felt it yet, if you haven't been a witness to it yet. So this is really about activation. This is what I'm talking about in this podcast. And my sense is that so many of us have been repeating some old habits, perhaps feeling a bit between worlds, and to really live in the world that I want for myself, that you want for yourself, especially if you're listening to this podcast. We will have to show up differently. There is not going to be room for the things that we're hanging onto. That old habits, right? Old behaviors, old belief systems, old just ways of being. And it feels so challenging. It feels so heavy. And this could be maybe in a relationship scenario for you. Maybe you're seeing similar patterns that you've been in before that you know you can no longer keep if you want the relationship that your soul truly does desire. Perhaps you are being in friendships that you know are just not giving life to your soul. Maybe you're doing things within these friendships, right, that are really going against your soul. Old habits, right? With friends that maybe you used to connect with, but you don't know how to say goodbye. You don't know how to release them. You don't want to feel bad. You don't want them to look at you as anything different, right? Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's a career. Maybe it's just life. Maybe it's health. I know for me, it is teetering on, different habits that I've been knowing for myself that I really need to be that parent to myself if I want to live the life that I know that my soul is desiring. There are things that I just can't do, and there are things that I have to do. And if I don't start doing them, life is going to be very uncomfortable. And if I do start doing them, life is also going to be very uncomfortable. However, this is where we can start to see the outcome. If I do this, it might be uncomfortable for a bit, but the outcome is going to be so fulfilling and so satisfying because we are leveling up and we have to show up for ourselves and support ourselves in a whole new way. And if we don't, it's okay. It's just that it's going to even feel extra challenging, but in a different way, and just in a completely different way. The other thing that I'm noticing, and let me know in the comments if you're noticing this as well. But all possibilities are being revealed right now in situations where we have to become so emotionally attuned to the space that we're in to be able to hold space for the all that is being presented to us. So I will explain this. I had a very unfortunate situation happen to me over the weekend. And well, it wasn't to me, but it was a situation that involved myself. And I won't go into it all. But what I was able to come to at the end was seeing all that is possible in the situation. So instead of the either or and the, well, I'll tell you what happened. So it's going to be easier if I just share with you what happened. So I was going to celebrate in Atlanta with my brother and my sister-in-law, my nephew's birthday. So we were headed out of town and we had a house sitter planned to come over. This house sitter and here's the thing, I had a bad feeling about this all day. I had a feeling that we were going to possibly have to come back home that night. It was just this kind of feeling. So, and I was sharing that with my daughter while we were on the way in the car. A couple hours after we got to my brother's, I got a text message from the house sitter stating that she had brought her new kitten to our house without asking, without saying anything. And one of our dogs attacked her kitten. So we were put in a situation where it was one of those things of like, oh my word, she's hysterical. Her kitten ended up passing away. An incredibly sad and unfortunate situation. And so this is the example, because it was a situation where it's not a black or white. Like, this is a situation where I was able to have compassion for her, the experience that she was going through of losing a pet, and for the kitten that unnecessarily, lost her life or his life. And at the same time, it never should have happened because she never should have brought the kitten to my house. So, because this was not discussed beforehand. And if she would have asked, I would have said, I don't think that's a good idea. You're bringing a new kitten in this home with dogs and other cats, because we have 2 cats in the house also, and our dogs are fine with those cats. And I still don't know the full story. However, of exactly what happened or how it happened. But my point is that one of my kiddos was saying, oh my gosh, I'm so upset with her, and was angry at the house sitter for doing that. I said, yes, I hear you. And this is an opportunity to have compassion and really lend a hand to someone that says, I'm so sorry for what you must be going through right now. But then also see the error in that decision at the same time, rather than just being upset at the error or just being overly compassionate. It's both. So I hope that makes sense. So, and my whole weekend was really like that. It was such a good time. And there were some really intense things. Just as much of a good time we had a very intense, on the other end of the spectrum. So we're feeling all ends of the spectrum and everything in between right now. So this is what I mean by all is possible right now. And by experiencing this extreme polarity, I believe, and what I'm seeing is that we get an opportunity to see all of it rather than just focusing on one side, on one end of the spectrum, and realizing that all is true. Everything can be true in this situation. It's not one thing or another, right? So another situation, say you are leaving a significant relationship, right? And you can honor the time that you spent and the season, right, that relationship was in, and know that it's time for a new season. It's not one or the other. How can you hold space for everything that's showing up right now? And this is where we're at. This is what we're being called to. For the last 3 years, I've been speaking on this, that this is about emotional mastery. And I'm not saying I got it. I'm saying that this is a work in progress for me too. But if you've been doing your own inner work, right, your shadow work, inner child work, really tuning into you, how you're showing up for your life, and maybe how you're not showing up in these ways, right? And really like reflecting on in these places for yourself, you'll be fine, right? But this is really the energy of what's right now. So I want to speak today on, I want to bring in a little bit of a visualization for you to help you see who you are and who you are becoming, right? And also I want to also then read a story to you. It's a parable actually that coincides with this. So if you could, and if you're driving, don't do this, right? But if you could just close your eyes and visualize, who are you? When you imagine your future self that's embodying everything that you've been working on, who is that? What are these attributes that this future self of you that I'm sure you've seen glimpses of? Who is that person? And if you haven't written down those things, write them down. Keep them in your mind and then write them down when you can, if you're not in a place where you can write them down right now. But say it's, this confidence, right? Say it's, I want to embody confidence. Okay, well, what are you doing right now to not support yourself to embody confidence? What habits are you keeping that is not allowing you to be in the energy of confidence? If it is, say, like for myself, for instance, we had 3 baby goats a couple days ago. And I noticed myself being very nervous about getting these goats. And part of it is because I've never had goats before. So this is a new situation and a new experience for me. But what I really realized is that I now have an extra level and layer of responsibility that I have to show up for. I have to get outside of my comfort zone and show up for something that is completely new and that is going to take me to places that I'm not sure of. So, but it's going to help me in what I really want to do in my life, right? So like this podcast, we're going to be talking about homesteading. We're going to be talking about permaculture and food forests and things like that. This is part of what I want to do. So this is the future self that is in me, the seed that, I've been planting. And now how do I water those seeds? How do I fertilize those seeds in ways that I haven't before? What's a new way that I can actually fertilize these seeds that I've been planting for the life that, and the experience that I really, truly, my soul wants to have? And don't get me wrong, I'm all about enjoying the journey on the way. It's not just the destination, but we have to anchor in, what's the experience that I want to have? And it maybe even just a feeling. How do I want to feel about myself? Write down those attributes. I want to feel competent. I want to feel confident. I want to feel, healthy. I want to feel, sexy, well, maybe there's a health situation, right? And that's for me as well, too. I am on this health journey again, for myself. I think it never ends, right? But it's like, okay, how can I show up for myself so that I can, experience what I want to experience? What are those attributes that I know that if I want to feel healthy and if I want to have energy and I want to be just, moving through my day with grace and moving through my day with a level of beauty and grace and confidence and competence, then anything that I'm doing potentially now that would not allow me to show up in that way, I have to release. I have to pay attention to, and I have to release. So I can't stay up until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Not that I normally do that, but I'm just saying, because my chickens are up at 6 and my goats and whatever. So who do I have to be, right? What are those attributes so that I can truly live the life that my soul is desiring? So are you living in a way right now, right, that allows for what you envision, for who you want to be? And it's not about someday. It's not about, oh, I'll get there when this happens. This is about now. We're here now. We're here now. So, like, are you living in a way right now that allows for what you envisioned? And maybe some of it, right? Maybe some of it you are. It's great. But where else do you need to step up for yourself? Where else do you need to maybe, kick yourself in the butt a little bit? And I'm all for self-care and nurturing, but sometimes the most self-love that we can give ourselves is a nice swift kick in the butt because we can be a little too soft on ourselves, especially in the spiritual community. It's like, the self-love. Yes, absolutely. But what does love mean? And that love means, it's like, oh, you need to take action. You need to do something. You need to show up for yourself, right? And this is the place where we're at right now. And myself included, we all are here. So where are you, right, on this spectrum? And what do you need to change? What do you need to release and let go that will allow you to step into this version of you? And it's going to be painful. The transformation journey, activating your life, is not all roses and unicorns and, ice cream. Yes, there are amazing and beautiful moments in it. Don't get me wrong. But it takes us stretching ourselves and moving past our ego as well, too. That says, you're good. It's good enough. Remember, your ego is going to keep you safe. So anytime we want to stretch that place within us, it's going to feel really weird. And that is the uncertainty, because you're forming a new path and you're forming new pathways in your brain. So it's not going to feel all airy-fairy. It's going to feel challenging. And we're in this place right now to be able to hold space for all that shows up for us. This is why emotional maturity is so critical right now. So I want to share a story with you. Actually, it's a parable. This was, what do I want to say, paramount in my life. I remember when I was reading this, and it was back in 2016. And I was sitting at my kitchen table. I was living in Huntersville, North Carolina. And I was able to come full circle at this moment in time and see life as I needed to see it so that I could make the decisions that I needed to. And at that time, it was, the things that I was living as well too. I was in some, making decisions that weren't for the highest space within myself. This is when I really started to get into shadow work and inner child work. And this is when the whole beginning process of my divorce started as well. So it's the parable of the raft. And it's a story, it's the Buddha. And basically here, I'm just going to read it to you so that you understand what I'm getting at, because this was so profound in my life. And this really goes along with what's happening right now within us individually and as a collective. So suppose, he said, that a man is facing a great river, and if he has to cross to the other shore, but there is no boat to do so. So what will he do? Well, he would cut some trees, tie them together, and build a raft. So he would sit on the raft, and using his hands or a stick, he would move to cross the river. So once he reached the other bank, what would he do? He would drop the raft because he would no longer need it. So what he would not do, thinking about how useful it had been, is to load it on his shoulders and continue the journey with the raft on his back. So it's really about teaching the importance of practicing detachment and not clinging to things, not clinging to beliefs, not clinging to relationships, not clinging to experiences, not clinging to the old self. But how often do we cling to parts of ourselves and we keep dragging it behind us even though it's not serving us and it's really, truly just useless. So it's, this is about, hold on one second. This is the shore. So this is what, according to the Buddha, this is the shore on which we are, says Buddha, is the present ego-related existence. But the other shore is what we aspire to be. And it represents our goals and our dreams. It represents what our soul is here for. So the raft helps us cross the water, because that is its function. But after, we have to see the purpose, honor the journey, and leave the raft, because it would only weigh us down if we decided, well, I don't want to let this go. This was such a good, I had such a good time on this raft. I just want to pick it up and carry it to, because what if I would need it again? I can't leave this. What would everybody think if I left my marriage? Oh, what would everybody think if I left my really good job and started my own business that I really want to do? I'll just hang on to it. So this is about clinging to things, right? And clinging to situations and wasting our life by trying to maybe recreate situations, experiences, hold on to things, hold on to a certain reality that maybe is just, there's no longer like room for it, and honoring each phase in our life, right? So thinking about phases, right now it's June 27th, the day I'm recording this. It's summer in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, if I was trying to hold on to, say, okay, winter was a couple seasons ago, I was trying to hold on to a winter coat, right? And carry that just because, into summer, that wouldn't make sense. So there's some things that at certain times are supporting us. And then there's those things that if we are scared to release, if we're scared to let go, if we're scared to say goodbye, if we're scared to truly transform and truly activate really our soul's purpose, we have to let go. And the ones right now who get uncomfortable, really uncomfortable, and who are willing to be courageous in that space are going to be the ones, who not only survive this, but they're going to be the ones that are leading this whole, whatever we want to call it, this new world, this new, age that we're moving into, because we are moving into a new age and a new phase of life. And our past phase, our past things will no longer work. And the more you hang on to them, the more stressed, the more feelings of anxiety, depression, and all the mental health stuff is going to come up. It's going to take getting uncomfortable. And I want to also mention this because so much in our programming of society is about, being comfortable, living an easy life. I want an easy life. I want to make a bunch of money but only work, 5 hours a week. And I just want to sit on the beach and do nothing. So not to say that fine, if that's your thing, great. But what I'm talking about is there's a difference between an easy life and an easeful life, a life of ease. And this is all in how brave and courageous you are to live your soul's expression and to individuate and step away from the status quo and to see all the possibilities and to be able to hold space for everything and know what you want in the midst of all of that and show up for yourself in that way, no matter how hard it fucking is. So I want to ask you here as we close out, do you hear the call? And are you ready to say yes? What will you need to let go of so that you can do this? The raft story for me, to put it into context, at that time in my life, I was very much exploring Judaism. I had worked with a rabbi. We had spent time with Orthodox families in Houston, Texas, and in Denver, Colorado. And we had just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina before I read the raft story. And in Charlotte, I was trying to find a synagogue or, a shul to go to and all of this. Well, the Jewish population in Charlotte is not very large, at least the Orthodox. And so I remember feeling very uncertain of what to do, uncertain of how do we honor Shabbat? How do we have a community here that is this? But all the while, everything in me was, at this point, it had come to this place of, well, I should be doing this because we had been doing this now for probably 3 years before we had moved to Charlotte. So, or a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And so I felt, well, I can't give up on this. So much of it was, what are people going to think if I am no longer doing this? Because I'd done so many other things before. I've experimented, been deep into Christianity, spirituality, New Age before, Judaism. And so, but when I read that raft story, it hit me that day when I was sitting at my kitchen table. But oh my gosh, Judaism was my raft from me to get to the shore of where I was when I first started Judaism, of asking myself the questions around, really it was around Jesus. And I know this can be controversial, but what I was wanting to know is Jesus who he said he was, or is Jesus who I've been told who he was? And this is when I asked myself, I said, you know what? I'm ready for the truth no matter where it takes me. And this is really when Judaism entered my life. Judaism allowed me to leave and form my own relationship with spirituality, religion, God, Jesus, all of that. So it got me to the other side of the bank, the other side of the river. What I was doing though, I had picked up this raft that was Judaism in my life, and I kept carrying it, thinking, well, I got to keep following this. I got to keep living this way. Even though it just at that point, it just didn't feel aligned anymore. But I was having a hard time admitting that to myself. So at that point in time, I was able to sit there and go, oh my gosh, and honor the place that Judaism had in my life and bring in some of the aspects that I loved about it. The ritualistic aspect, the ceremonial, just some things that I just felt were so beautiful within that religion. But know that I didn't have to be just strictly, and solely on that path anymore. And I came full circle of where I was, 15 years before that time. It was a beautiful experience. And so I wanted to share that today because so many of you listening to this are hanging on to things because you think you should do it. Because what are other people going to think? And it's not allowing you to truly live your soul's expression. And you can't bullshit yourself anymore. There are relationships that you're in and you know it. There is a job that you're in and you know it. There are things you're doing, habits, behaviors that are not allowing you to live that out. And you know it. So this is the call. Do you hear it? And are you ready to say yes? And what will you need to let go of so that you can do it and you can be it? It's not really doing it, it's being it. So remember to always ask yourself the question, what else is possible that I've never thought before? So until next time, I'm Erin and I'm out. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes packed with wisdom and insights that will allow you to experience life in a more empowering way. Until then, stay inspired, stay curious, and always ask the question, what else is possible that I've never thought of before? Take care.